Sir, stop right there. ICE. We need to see proof of citizenship.
I'm a United States Marine. I have a medical appointment inside.
Citizenship documentation, now.
My military ID is right here. I served 3 combat tours.
Hands where we can see them. Don't reach.
I am a veteran. This is
A decorated United States Marine walks toward a VA hospital for a medical appointment. 3 combat deployments, 2 Purple Hearts, 8 years of service to the country whose flag he fought under. And before he reaches the front door, 2 ICE agents stop him in the parking lot and put him in handcuffs. Marcus Webb is 38 years old, Staff Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, honorably discharged. He has been to Iraq twice and Afghanistan once. He has wounds that qualified him for 2 separate Purple Heart citations. He has a scheduled appointment at the VA Medical Center, a hospital that exists specifically to serve men and women like him. And inside that hospital, his former commanding officer, Brigadier General Patricia Hayes, is already waiting to accompany him. CE Agent Roberto Torres and CE Agent Daniel Brennan have a combined total of 0 confirmed deportations of individuals who were not undocumented immigrants. They also have a combined total of 7 prior complaints for racially motivated stops, all dismissed. This detention will last 4 hours and 17 minutes. It will trigger a federal investigation into ICE conduct at VA facilities across 3 states. And the jury award that follows will total $19.7 million, the largest award ever issued against ICE agents for wrongful detention of a United States military veteran. Type veteran while black if you understand why 2 Purple Hearts were not enough to stop this from happening. This story proves that in America, no amount of military service, no amount of sacrifice, no amount of documented proof of citizenship can fully protect a black man from being treated as a foreigner in the country he nearly died defending. Marcus Webb was not born wanting to be a Marine. He was born in Savannah, Georgia, the youngest of 4 children, to a postal worker father and a middle school science teacher mother. He was the kid who fixed things, engines, radios, broken furniture. The kid the neighbors called when something needed figuring out. He enlisted at 19, not because he had no options, but because he wanted to matter, to do something that required everything he had. 8 years of active duty service, 3 combat deployments, 2 tours in Iraq, and 1 in Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant by his 4th year, a rank that typically takes 6. Commendations for valor under fire. 2 Purple Hearts, the first for shrapnel wounds sustained during a firefight in Fallujah in 2009. The second for injuries sustained while pulling 2 fellow Marines from a burning vehicle outside Kandahar in 2012. He was honorably discharged in 2015 with full veterans benefits. He returned to Savannah, enrolled in a mechanical engineering program on the GI Bill, graduated with honors, and now works as a facilities engineer for a manufacturing company 40 minutes from where he grew up. He also carries the physical and psychological cost of those 3 deployments. Chronic pain from the shrapnel wounds, tinnitus, the particular kind of hypervigilance that combat veterans learn and cannot unlearn. He has been receiving treatment at the VA Medical Center for 3 years. Regular appointments, documented, scheduled, consistent. On the morning of November 9th, Marcus drives 40 minutes to the VA for a 9:30 a.m. appointment with his orthopedic specialist. He is also expecting to see Brigadier General Patricia Hayes, his former commanding officer, who is driven from the regional military base to accompany him. Hayes has maintained contact with many of the veterans she commanded. Marcus is one of them. He parks in the VA lot at 9:18 a.m., walks toward the entrance, gets 12 feet from the front door. That is where Torres and Brennan are waiting. Torres and Brennan have been stationed outside the VA Medical Center since 8:45 a.m. They are operating under a broad enforcement directive that instructs agents to monitor locations where undocumented individuals may seek services. The VA Medical Center is on their list. It should not be. Federal policy explicitly prohibits ICE enforcement actions at sensitive locations, including hospitals. But the directive has been issued, and Torres and Brennan are following it. They have been watching the parking lot for 35 minutes. In that time, they have allowed 14 people to pass without stopping them. All 14 were white. Marcus Webb is the first black man to walk through the lot unaccompanied. Torres steps into his path before Marcus reaches the sidewalk. Brennan positions himself to the left, cutting off the angle back to the parking lot. Standard containment formation, 2 against 1, in a hospital parking lot against a man walking to a medical appointment. Marcus stops, keeps his hands visible. He is wearing jeans, a gray hoodie, and a jacket. His military ID is in his wallet. His VA appointment card is in his jacket pocket. His discharge papers are in the folder under his arm, because he has learned over 3 years of VA appointments to carry documentation. He carries documentation because he has learned, as black men in America learn, that documentation is the price of being believed. Torres demands citizenship proof. Marcus explains he is a veteran with a medical appointment. He reaches slowly for his wallet. Brennan tells him not to reach. Marcus extends the military ID and the VA appointment card, held out in plain view. Torres takes the documents, does not examine them, holds them at his side. Tells Marcus they will verify that. Marcus tells them they can verify it in 30 seconds by calling the VA front desk, where Brigadier General Patricia Hayes is already waiting and can confirm his identity, his service record, and his appointment. He gives them her name, her rank. Brennan takes out his handcuffs. What Torres and Brennan saw was a black man in civilian clothes in a VA parking lot, and in the calculation that happened in the space between that observation and their response, his military ID became a document that required verification, his appointment card became insufficient proof, and his mention of a Brigadier General became the kind of claim that gets made precisely because it cannot be quickly checked. The same man, if he were white, would have been waved through before he finished his first sentence. Marcus is handcuffed at 9:22 a.m. in the parking lot of the VA Medical Center, 8 minutes before his scheduled appointment, 12 feet from the front door. He does not resist. He has been trained for situations that require composure under pressure far more extreme than this one. His voice is controlled. His movements are deliberate. But every veteran standing at the entrance, watching this, understands exactly what they are seeing. Torres radios for a transport vehicle. Brennan begins filling out a field detention form. Marcus asks to speak with someone inside the building. They tell him that is not possible at this time. He asks them to call Brigadier General Hayes. Torres says they will follow up with any contacts he provides. He does not write down the name. Marcus asks them to look at the folder under his arm. His discharge papers are inside. DD Form 214, the official United States government document certifying his honorable discharge, his service dates, his rank, his decorations including both Purple Heart citations. The document that is, for legal purposes, the most definitive proof of United States military service that exists. Brennan takes the folder, sets it on the hood of the ICE vehicle, does not open it. Inside the VA Medical Center, at 9:25 a.m., Brigadier General Patricia Hayes checks her watch. Marcus is 7 minutes late. That is unusual for him. She asks the front desk to check whether he is checked in. He is not. She walks to the window overlooking the parking lot. She sees the ICE vehicle, sees the agents, sees Marcus in handcuffs. She is through the front door in 11 seconds. Type 2 Purple Hearts if you want to know whether either agent looked at those discharge papers before Brigadier General Hayes reached the parking lot. Brigadier General Patricia Hayes spent 26 years in the United States Marine Corps. She commanded 3 battalions, served 2 combat tours, and currently oversees training operations for the entire Eastern Regional Command. She has dealt with situations that required immediate authority, absolute clarity, and zero tolerance for error. She crosses the parking lot in full uniform, stars on her collar, ribbons across her chest. The kind of presence that produces immediate deference in anyone with military training. She identifies herself to Torres by full name and rank. She tells him the man in handcuffs is Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, United States Marine Corps, honorably discharged 2 Purple Hearts, and that his discharge papers are sitting on the hood of the ICE vehicle in the folder that neither agent has opened. Torres tells her that he appreciates her input and that the matter is under investigation. Hayes looks at him for a moment. Then she tells him to open the folder. Torres opens the folder. DD Form 214. Marcus Darnell Webb, United States Marine Corps. Date of entry, August 2007. Date of separation, June 2015. Character of discharge, honorable. Decorations, Purple Heart, First Award, 2009. Purple Heart, Second Award, 2012. Combat Action Ribbon, Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal. Brennan's hand stops moving over the field detention form. Hayes asks Torres to remove the handcuffs. Torres says he needs to complete verification through official ICE channels before he can release a detainee. Hayes tells him that the DD Form 214 in his hands is an official United States government document and constitutes definitive proof of citizenship and military service. Torres says protocol requires independent verification. Marcus has been in handcuffs for 9 minutes. His scheduled appointment started 2 minutes ago. Hayes calls the VA Medical Center's patient advocate and the facility's federal liaison simultaneously. Within 7 minutes, the VA's legal office has been notified. The facility director has come to the entrance, and a call has been placed to the ICE field office supervisor. The field office supervisor, upon being told that 2 agents have detained a decorated Marine veteran in a VA hospital parking lot in the presence of a Brigadier General using a sensitive location enforcement directive that is not legally authorized for VA facilities, says 4 words: "Release him right now." Torres removes the handcuffs at 9:41 a.m., 19 minutes after they were applied. Marcus stands in the parking lot and rolls his wrists. He looks at Torres and Brennan. He looks at his discharge papers, still on the hood of the ICE vehicle where Brennan set them. He picks them up, straightens them, and puts them back in the folder. He does not raise his voice. He has been in situations that required more discipline than this. But what he says, quietly and clearly, with Hayes standing beside him and 3 VA staff members watching from the entrance, is this: "I fought for this country. I have the paperwork to prove it." And none of that was enough for you to give me 30 seconds? Torres offers the word regrettable. Marcus does not respond to it. He walks through the VA front door at 9:43 a.m., 21 minutes late for his appointment. Still in the jacket he was wearing when the handcuffs went on. The marks on his wrists visible for the rest of the morning. 6 weeks later, attorney Denise Morgan files suit in federal district court. Webb versus Department of Homeland Security, ICE agent Roberto Torres and ICE agent Daniel Brennan. The claims: unlawful detention in violation of the Fourth Amendment, violation of civil rights under 42 United States Code, Section 1983, racial profiling in violation of federal equal protection guarantees, violation of the federal sensitive locations policy prohibiting ICE enforcement actions at medical facilities, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of the Service Members Civil Relief Act. The evidence is assembled with the precision Marcus was trained to apply to everything. A parking lot security footage shows Torres and Brennan allowing 14 white individuals to pass unchallenged in the 35 minutes before stopping Marcus. 14. 0 stops. Then the first black man to walk through the lot unaccompanied. Stop. Handcuffs. Detention. The folder containing Marcus's discharge papers, time-stamped on the security footage being placed on the hood of the ICE vehicle at 9:23 a.m. and not opened until 9:38 a.m. 15 minutes after detention. Only after Brigadier General Hayes demanded it. Torres and Brennan's prior complaint records: 7 combined complaints for racially motivated stops across 4 years of service. All dismissed. All involving Black or Latino individuals. The ICE Enforcement Directive authorizing their presence at the VA facility, issued without legal review, in direct violation of the existing sensitive locations policy, by a mid-level supervisor who will later be named as an additional defendant. Brigadier General Hayes's sworn statement, 14 pages, detailed, precise, and devastating. The DOJ Civil Rights Division opens a parallel investigation into ICE enforcement practices at medical facilities in 3 states, triggered directly by Morgan's filing. What they find: 47 similar incidents over 18 months. 39 of the detainees are Black or Latino. 44 are United States citizens. 0 result in legitimate immigration enforcement actions. The pattern is undeniable. The case is indefensible. Settlement talks begin at week 14. $19.7 million. $4.2 million directly to Marcus Webb. $2.1 million for civil rights violations, unlawful detention, and racial profiling. $900,000 for emotional distress and aggravation of existing service-related PTSD. $1.2 million in recognition of the specific violation of detaining a decorated combat veteran at the facility designated for his medical care. $15.5 million in punitive damages against the Department of Homeland Security and the agents personally, structured to reflect both the individual conduct and the systemic failure that authorized it. Agent Roberto Torres, terminated for cause, barred from federal law enforcement employment, personally liable for $250,000. Agent Daniel Brennan, terminated for cause, barred from federal law enforcement employment, personally liable for $250,000. The supervising officer who issued the unauthorized VA enforcement directive, demoted, suspended for 90 days, required to undergo civil rights training, and placed on permanent supervisory probation. The 7 prior complaints against Torres and Brennan are reopened. All 7 are found meritorious. The internal affairs officers who dismissed them are formally reprimanded and required to undergo procedural retraining. The Department of Homeland Security issues a formal policy revision. The sensitive locations protection is extended and clarified to explicitly prohibit any ICE enforcement action within 500 feet of any VA medical facility, any military installation entrance, or any facility primarily serving veteran populations. The policy is mandatory, enforceable, and reported to Congress quarterly. All ICE field agents are required to complete a new 8-hour training module on sensitive locations policy, military documentation recognition, and racial bias in enforcement targeting. The training is mandatory for service renewal. Congress introduces the Veterans Protection from Unlawful Detention Act, co-sponsored by representatives from both parties, requiring that any federal agent who detains a United States military veteran without reviewing available discharge documentation face mandatory disciplinary review. Marcus testifies before the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. He brings his DD Form 214. He brings photographs of the marks the handcuffs left on his wrists. The bill passes. $19.7 million bought a federal policy revision, 2 terminations, a congressional law, mandatory training for every ICE field agent in the country, a formal prohibition on enforcement actions at VA facilities that should have existed before Torres and Brennan ever set foot in that parking lot. It did not change what happened in the moment Torres stepped into Marcus Webb's path. It did not change the calculation. 14 white men walked through that lot and the agents' hands never moved toward their badges. Then 1 black man walked through, and the handcuffs came out before his first sentence was finished. The DD Form 214 on the hood of the ICE vehicle was there for 15 minutes before anyone opened it. 15 minutes in which the document that proved everything sat untouched, because the decision had already been made before the folder was ever set down. The settlement created consequences for that decision, made it expensive, public, and politically irreversible. It forced a federal agency to rewrite its policies and retrain its workforce. It put Torres and Brennan's pattern on permanent record. But it did not change who gets stopped in a parking lot. It did not change who is assumed to belong and who is assumed to be in the wrong place. It did not change the fact that Marcus Webb, who gave 8 years, 3 deployments, and pieces of his body to the United States, had to stand in handcuffs outside a VA hospital while his commanding officer walked across a parking lot to confirm what his own documents had already proven. 2 Purple Hearts were not enough. A commanding officer having to physically cross a parking lot was. And that distance between the medals and the moment Hayes' stars came through the door is the precise measurement of how far this country still has to go. Marcus Webb served 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, 3 combat deployments, 2 Purple Hearts, honorably discharged. His medical records, his discharge papers, and his commanding officer were all within 100 feet of where Torres and Brennan put him in handcuffs. He was detained for 19 minutes. His paperwork sat unopened for 15 of them. So here is my question. If 2 Purple Hearts, a DD Form 214, and a Brigadier General walking across a parking lot are required to release a Black Marine veteran from handcuffs outside his own VA hospital, what does that say about what this country actually believes about the men and women who serve it? Should ICE agents who detain United States military veterans without reviewing available documentation face criminal charges rather than administrative ones? And should the officers who dismissed 7 prior complaints against Torres and Brennan face personal liability for the harm their inaction enabled? Share your thoughts in the comments. This story proves that service does not protect you from suspicion. Sacrifice does not protect you from suspicion. 2 Purple Hearts and 3 combat deployments do not protect you from suspicion. But it also proves that patterns can be exposed, that federal policy can be forced to change, and that when a Brigadier General walks across a parking lot and demands that someone open a folder, the truth that was always there finally has to be acknowledged. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next story.